Hey, Arron Chambers here. Welcome to day 7 of the Next Steps Ministers Training on Marriage and Family. You think I'd know that now after doing this for the past 7 days. Here's the deal. I'm a pastor. I'm a marriage and life coach. I'm the director of marriage and family for the Christian Church Leadership Network. And if you'll give me 30 minutes a day over the next few days, I will give you back a more extraordinary marriage. Today I want to talk to you about another difference between men and women. This will help you with your spouse. Another difference, and these are general principles, is this. Another difference is that men and women tend to process things differently. Men tend to be more compartmentalized, and women tend to look at the world more holistically. The illustration I use is men are more like trains and women are more like a merry-go-round. Men just see things in a compartment and then they move on. It's just the events are not really connected. They just kind of go from one thing to another. But women have this superpower. I call it a superpower. They have the ability to see the whole universe and how it's connected. Let me give you an example. And this is hypothetical. Say my wife and I have a disagreement in the morning, and in the middle of our argument, we have to go our separate ways. Well, I go to work at 9 o'clock, have a meeting with a worship minister, and it's pretty heated, has some things we need to address, and actually, pretty heated meeting. We hit some things pretty hard, and some hard things are said and processed. And then 10 o'clock, I may work on a marriage. 11 o'clock, I may work on my sermon. And noon, the worship minister will come by my office and ask if I want to go to lunch. I'm like, yeah, let's go to lunch. Yeah, that conversation we had, it was hard, was 3 hours ago. No big deal. Let's move on. And I go through the whole day just having a bunch of unrelated experiences. And I walk in the door. My wife walks in the door from work, and she says, and one more thing. And I'm thinking, what are you talking about? And one more thing. Because the fight for me is a distant memory, but for her it's a present reality. And it's not because she's crazy. Not at all. Not because she's vindictive. It's because the way God, generally speaking, the way God made women, they see the whole universe connected. And that fight is something she's been processing all day long. Doesn't shut her down. Women invented multitasking. They do a lot of things at once. But all day long, she is processing that argument, that fight. And she may talk to her friend Jessica and about it on her break. And she'll process it with Jessica. Jessica's not trying to fix the problem. Jessica's just letting Rhonda process it. And all day long, she's processing it. Why did Arron say that? Why would he think that? And so when she walks in the door and sees me, it's the present reality. And here's the thing you need to understand. That's a superpower. It's a gift. If you embrace that power, that your spouse has the ability to process things, it'll help you make much better decisions. For example, if I'm making a major decision, I run it by my wife and I'll say, hey babe, put this on your merry-go-round and think about it for the next couple of weeks. Here's some things I'm thinking about doing, and I just need to know what do you think, if it's a good idea. And I promise you within 2 weeks, my wife will say, hey, I've been processing your question, and here's this, and this. And every major decision we've made in life has been so much better because because I embrace my wife's ability to see it holistically, see how it's all connected. It's very important. One of our kids will ask, hey, can I spend the night at my friend's house? And I'll be like, yep, go for it. And then my wife will yell down from upstairs, no, what do you think? Come up here, Arron, what are you saying? And I'll go up there and she'll say, why did you say that Silas could go to his friend's house? I'm like, well, he asked. And she said, do you realize that his friends have been sick? Do you realize that I told the other siblings they had to stay home tonight? Do you realize this? Do you realize this? Do you realize this? And I was like, whoa, I didn't see that decision in light of the whole universe, and it would have been a really bad decision. Now, here's another part of this, okay? If you hurt your spouse, if you hurt your wife, say mean things, have an argument that's not resolved, it's like putting barrels of toxic waste on your wife's merry-go-round, and they have no lids. And the more arguments you have that are unresolved, the more they pile up. And eventually they're piled up, and they fly off at inappropriate times and splash innocent bystanders. Now, if your wife has a bunch of barrels on her merry-go-round, so to speak, if you want to say, why do you keep bringing this up? Well, let me give you some advice. Don't say that. Don't say that. Instead, realize my wife and I need to process these barrels. Now, here's how they're processed. Listen very carefully. They're processed through a process that has some principles. Okay, here's the first principle. Only the person who put the barrel on the merry-go-round could take it off. Okay? If you hurt your wife, talking to her girlfriend about it or her mom about it is not going to help that much. Eventually, she's got to talk to you about it. Here's the second principle. The barrel is taken off through having conversations, and as many conversations as you need to have. And then here's the third principle. Once the barrel is removed, it cannot be put back on the merry-go-round without mutual agreement. Okay? Because that's hard. It's hard to not keep bringing it up. Okay, so yes, the men are more like trains and women are more like merry-go-rounds. Let me give you another example of guys. National championship football game a few years ago, Alabama was playing Notre Dame, and I don't have all the details perfectly nailed down, but Alabama was winning by a large margin, about 2 minutes to go, and the quarterback calls an audible. And the center counters, calls another audible. The quarterback counters again, calls another audible. At this point, the center stands up and grabs the quarterback's face mask, and they have to call a timeout. Well, with about 2 minutes to go in the game, the commentators are like, "What just happened? The quarterback from Alabama and the center from Alabama just had a fight. What was going on?" And so at the end of the game, the commentator stops the quarterback in the center, and her first question is, "What were y'all fighting about?" He's like, "What are you talking about?" She's like, "What are you fighting about?" And he's like, "We just won a national championship. We're good." She's like, "But you two just fought." He's like, "We're roommates. We're good. We love each other. We just won a national championship." And my wife looked at me and said, if that was two women, that conversation would not be over. All right. I want your marriages to be extraordinary. And in extraordinary marriages, you realize that you all process things differently. Men, your wife is not a man. She's going to process things differently. And women, your husband is not a woman. He's going to process things differently. He's going to tend to want to move on to the next thing. But here's what you do. You meet in the middle. You learn how to chat. Okay? Learn how to chat. All right? And men, to chat, you just simply respond to what you see and hear. You sound upset. Yeah, I am upset. You talk about it. You look angry. Yeah, I am angry. You look hurt. I am hurt. And you talk about it. And you meet in the middle, and you have as many conversations as you need to have to clear off the merry-go-round. Okay, as far as evaluation goes, on a scale from 1 to 10, I want you to evaluate how you're doing as far as processing things as a couple. Are things getting processed, or are things being set aside? All right, ask your spouse to give you an evaluation scale from 1 to 10, how you're doing as far as processing things. Number 10, you're killing it. You process everything, all the issues perfectly, and there's nothing on the merry-go-round. Or 1, man, that merry-go-round is a mess, and there's stuff to be processed. All right, and then as far as next steps go, I want you to think about, I want you to show your spouse this video, and I want you to ask your spouse, is there anything on the merry-go-round? And if so, you are going to process it, okay? All right, next 30 minutes, I want you to really think about, is there something on my spouse's merry-go-round? And if so, we need to process it. And you're going to set up time in the next 30 minutes to get that stuff processed, all right? Okay, God bless you, and remember who you are.